How's it going, everyone? Sean here from Raw Technique Studios. The website is hiphopaudioschool.com, and in today's video we're going to be taking a video from Hip Hop Audio School, the course, which has over 80 videos in it, start to finish, from setting up a home studio, recording, mixing, mastering, distribution, all of it. Everything is in this course. If you're looking to know that full process, this is the course to pick up. But I'm going to take a video from that so you could check it out and get a preview of the course here, show you the quality that's in there. And this is all about building your own acoustic panels. I go over the materials I use and the price breakdown of everything, at least what the prices were. Inflation, everything gets more expensive, so prices might be higher now. But these were the prices when I bought everything. I show you what materials I used and where I got them and everything. And then also we talk about the tools needed to build this. So I break down what tools I used, and then I show you the entire process of building the panel, from cutting the wood to screwing in the screws to putting down the fabric, putting in the insulation, and you end up getting these panels back here that I have on my wall. I've used them for years. They're great. They sound good once you have them all put up in your studio. So if you're interested in building your own acoustic panels that look nice and sound good, then check out this video from Hip Hop Audio School, the course. I'll have a link down below to the full course if you're interested. It has over 80 videos. This is just one of them. So if you like this, please consider checking out that full course. All right, let's jump into it. Let's take a look at the acoustic panels materials and tools list. This will be a PDF that you can download below this video, so feel free to go ahead and grab that. You could print it out or just put it on your phone and take it to the store with you so you could make sure you get all the same materials. But let's go ahead and go through it now. First thing you're going to need is wood. I ended up going with 1 inch by 4 inch by 8 foot common board from the Home Depot. Number 2, for insulation, I like the Ultra Touch R13 recycled denim. This I was only able to find at Lowe's in individual bags. A lot of people have had trouble finding this in stores near them, so if you cannot find this anywhere nearby, then you could go ahead and use Safe and Sound Rockwool or the Owens Corning 703. Number 3 is going to be fabric. I ended up going to Joann's, which has the craft felt fabric, 72 inches wide. Number 4 is the wood screws. I did 1 1/4 Phillips screws. Number 5 is drywall screws. I did 1 1/4 Phillips screws as well. Number 6 is the Arrow staples, JT21, 5/16 of an inch. Number 7 is the corner brace. It's the 1 1/2 inch. Number 8 is mounting tape, Scotch mounting tape. For tools, I have a Ryobi 10-inch miter saw. If you don't have the budget or you just really don't feel like picking up a miter saw, then you can use a hacksaw, which is much cheaper, but you will have to cut each piece of wood by hand. Number 2 is a power drill. I have a cheap Ryobi 12-volt power drill that came with the battery and the charger. Number 3 is a staple gun. This is the cheapest one that I found at Home Depot, and it was about $14 or $15. So you could go ahead and pick whichever one you like. Number 4 is a utility knife. I ended up going with the Husky utility knife, and it came with a couple razor blades as well. Number 5 is a tape measure, and I have the Stanley 25-foot tape measure. So feel free to replace any of the tools by different brands if you prefer other brands, and you could even replace some of the materials like the insulation with something else, or you could replace the fabric with just like a cotton fabric instead of a felt. It's all up to you, but these are the ones that I ended up using throughout this build process. So the pricing breakdown, this is going to be based off of 8 acoustic panels that you could build that are 81 inches tall, and the width is 15 inches on the inside. So for the wood, you need 18 pieces, which comes out to $96.12. Insulation, just 1 bag, which is $59.97. Drywall screws, wood screws, mounting tape. You just need 1 box of each of those. For the corner braces, you need 4 boxes. The staples, 3 boxes. For the felt, or whatever material you end up going with, you'll need 7 yards of that. And then there's the Arrow staple gun, the Ryobi drill, the miter saw, which you can replace with a hacksaw if you want to save some money, but the miter saw is much faster. And then also you need a utility knife. I also recommend getting a drill bit set. This is so you could do pre-drills. It might already come with your drill. It just depends on what you bought. So that's something that you could add on as well. and then a Stanley tape measure. You could pick any tape measure that you want. For the total price for just materials, but including tax, it comes out to $252.64, and that works out to $31.58 per panel. For the total materials and tools, that's going to come out to $500.54 or $62.56 per panel. If you prefer a printout, you can use this PDF that I put together. It's called the Acoustic Panel Build and Mount Guide. It's going to be down below this video. Go ahead and download that if you'd like. It's going to have step-by-step pictures, and it'll cover the entire process all the way through on how to build the panel as well as how to mount the panel. But we're about to jump into the video, so if you'd prefer to watch the video, then we're going to get into that right now. The first thing you're going to want to do when you're at the store is to close one eye and look down the length of the wood. This is going to make sure that it's straight and it's not going to cause any issues when you start building your frame. So once you have your wood, you're going to measure out the length that you're going to want to go to. For me, I'm doing 81 inches, and for the width, it's 15 inches. You might be doing 4-foot panels, you might be doing a different one. It's up to you on what you do. But for me, I'm going to do 81 inches long and 15 inches wide. Once you make your measurements and you mark it, go ahead and put the wood under the blade, lining it up to your marking, and go ahead and do the cut. All right, so that's my 81 inch left or right side. And then I'll be cutting the top or bottom right here for 15 inches. Now, no matter how tall you make your panels, it's always going to be 15 inches wide because that's how wide the insulation is. All right, so let's go ahead and build the frame. We're going to take 2 of the side pieces. I'm going to look at it and decide which piece I want facing out. That way I could have the better looking side facing out where you could actually see it. And then same thing for the top and bottom, face the part that you like best facing out. Now we're going to take a drill. So we're going to go ahead and pre-drill the sides. We're going to do 2 holes on the top and 2 holes on the bottom for each side. The reason we pre-drill is to make sure that we don't split the wood when putting our screw in. All right, so now I'm going to switch over to the Phillips head bit. So I'm screwing in each one about halfway, just getting it ready. So when I flip it onto its side, it's a lot easier to deal with. All right, so now we're going to take the top or bottom and decide which side we want showing, and then line it up and screw in the screws. And go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. All right, so there's our frame. And what we need to do is sweep up the dust and everything that came about because we don't want that to get on our fabric. So go ahead and sweep up everything before you lay down the frame and put your fabric. All right, so I'm using this felt fabric and I'm gonna lay it over the top. I cut it so it could fit into this panel here. So I left myself some room on the sides and a little bit on the length because I want to have some room for when I'm stapling the fabric. I'm just going to tuck it in here so I know that it's going to fit perfect, and then I can start stapling one of the sides. So I'll be using these staples here and this staple gun. We're going to load up the staples and get it ready. You're just going to put them in like this, slide the top back over it, and make sure you're using the correct side of the staple gun, which is going to be that side right there. So I'm going to start by going just one in the middle on the very bottom, one on the side, and one on the other side. That makes it to where I can now flip it up and start stapling it in on the bottom. So same thing, start with one in the middle. I'm going to be pulling it a little bit snug here. And I'm looking around the side just to make sure it looks like it's straight. So I got one in the middle there. And now let's go ahead and do the right side. I want to make sure the fabric's as flat as possible. And then I can staple it in. So I'm pulling the bottom piece to make sure it's nice and snug. And this is just the starter staples, one in the center, two on the sides. Now I can flip it over and finish the full stapling of the one we started with when it was on the floor. So let's pull all the fabric forward, make sure it's where it's going to end up being. And then we can start adding the staples and make it to where there's multiple staples throughout the entire bottom. So I'm looking around on one side while I staple this, just to make sure it looks like it's nice and straight. All right, so that's one half. Now I can make my way through the other half. And in this corner, so you can see the staple gun's what's pushing it to be nice and squared. All right, so let's flip it over and finish the other side where it only has 3 staples. So just pushing down, making it nice and flush all the way to the end, and then working back to the other side. All right, so now it's time to work on the bottom. What I'm going to do is pull the top with one hand and then staple on the bottom. So that makes sure that it's tight from the top, and I could just go ahead and staple through the bottom. Just going to work my way all the way over to the right side, and then I'll come back and do the left side after. You're going to go through a lot of staples, so you'll have to be refilling your staple gun several times. So when the material starts pulling forward like that, you could get some wrinkles in the fabric. So to prevent that is to make sure that you're pulling it to where it's nice and snug, but not coming off like this. So because it did that, I'm going to have to make a correction later. But for now, let's go ahead and finish this side and then flip it over. All right, so what I'm going to do now is pull the bottom so it's nice and snug. And then once I get it lined up, I can start working my way down. So I just keep pulling that bottom piece as the staple gun pushes the other way. And just make your way over to the side. And once we get to this corner, I'm going to have to fix an error. But luckily, it's pretty easy to pull this felt material out of the staples, and it's not going to damage it, and you're not going to see any of the holes or anything like that either, unless you tear it. So as I make my way to this corner, it's starting to fold, and it's getting a little bit of a crease in it. Because this is common, I wanted to leave it in the video so you can see what to do just in case this happens to you. So this is where it was having a problem. I'm pulling it out, so those staples are coming out. And now I'm re-stapling the bottom. So I'm going to take away the old staples, re-staple the bottom first where the side is, and then I'm going to go and re-staple this that I pulled everything out of. So that's going to make it a lot smoother. All right, so there it is, all stapled. Let's lay it down and add the centerpiece. First, I want to lay the fabric flat so it's not hanging out on the sides or anything like that. And then I'm going to put that centerpiece of wood, measure out 48 inches. Once you have that measurement, then you could go ahead and push that block into the frame. It's going to be a snug fit because it's exactly the same all the way throughout. Measure it again. I like to check the middle and the sides. Once you have the measurement, push it down. I like to do another measurement once it's there and adjust as needed. pre-drilling to make the holes. You could do this by setting it up on its side, or you could do it how I'm doing it in the video. So this is setting it up on the side. It might be a little bit easier coming over the top like that. All right, so now we're going to add some of these screws and make sure that centerpiece is secured. So remember, we pre-drill just to make sure we don't split the wood. So now we're going to add that insulation in there, and it should fit really nicely because it's exactly the same width as insulation. It's 15-inch frame and it's 15-inch insulation, so it should be a nice snug fit. And you're just going to push it down on the sides. And this is a very long piece of insulation, so we're going to have to cut it once we get to that 4-foot marker. I'm using this utility knife, and I'm just going to make a small cut at the bottom so I know where I'm going to cut to, and then start at the top and just pull it down right alongside that middle piece of wood. All right, so you could do a couple cuts if you need to, and then just tear it with your hands because it's going to have a couple pieces still connected. And then you just go ahead and tuck it in there. All right, so now I'm going to flip it because I want that pre-cut side. And then I'm going to tuck it in, work my way up to the top, and then cut off any excess. Start on the bottom, and then cut from the top all the way down. On this one, I just do one cut, and then I'm going to tear it apart with my hands. And then just tuck it in there, and everything should fit perfect. All right, so that's the finished panel with the insulation in there. Now, there's going to be dust on it, so just go ahead and wipe off any dust. And this is what it'll look like. The back side and the front side. So now I'm going to be using these corner braces to hang the panels. I'm also using some mounting tape just to make sure it's a little bit more secure. So let's go ahead and measure the width. You could go anywhere between the 15 inches. You probably don't want to do exactly 15 inches, so maybe an inch in and then maybe at about 13 inches. So this is just making sure that it's holding it on both sides of the panel. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that where I'm going to be putting them. And then I also want to be measuring from the ceiling down, so they're the same on both sides. So in my case, I'm doing it 2.5 inches down from the ceiling. You might be doing it different, but just make sure you mark it on both sides so it's even. All right, so I'm going to set my brace where I want it and then drill the hole through the holes on the brace to make sure it's going to be in the same spot. And then I'll do it to the other side as well. Just pre-drilling the holes into the drywall. All right, so now I'm going to put a drywall screw in there and secure the brace. And I'll use a second screw to make sure it's even more secure. And do the same thing for the other side. All right, so now what I'm going to do is add some of the sticky mounting tape and just place it on top of both of these braces. That's just going to give it a little extra stick to make sure it's more secure. All right, so go ahead and place your panel and just pull down a little bit on the frame once you have it where you want it, and that's going to secure it into place and hold a lot better. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video showing you guys how to make those acoustic panels back there. If you did want to jump into the full course, then I'll have the link down below in the description. The course is called Hip Hop Audio School, and it's available at hiphopaudioschool.com. So thank you guys again for watching this. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.